What's going on, YouTube? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Welcome to Texas Podcast. Thank you for all the day ones, all the new subscribers, all the likes, comments, feedback. Thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated. Hope everybody's having a good day. Uh, just wanted to do a quick little, I guess, live slash reaction video to to what's going on out there with this character named Houstone Smooth. Let me see. And people have to understand one thing, right? Like collectively, collectively, yes. Right. People have to understand how Dongle Blast functions, right? Dongle Blast, Dongle Blast works like this. Yes, under that Dongle Blast umbrella, you have Dallas, Houston, Austin, and Fort Worth. Right? Those four makes up PTB, Puro Dongle Blast. Right. But that being said, each city runs its own business, right? Uh, uh, a Dallas Dongle member can't insert himself into Houstone Dongle politics, right? Every city has to deal with their own. The only time, since we are a collective, is when there is no members of your city in that block, right? So if you pop up and you're from Dallas County and there's nobody from Dallas, it's okay for Dongle, Houston, or Austin or Fort Worth to give you your quota check. All right. That's the only exception if there's no members of a Dallas there, right? So even through we are collectively one, we are separate identities. All right. So like Smooth, he would fall into the Houston. All right. That's who he represents. But it's mandatory, man. But it's mandatory, man. It's mandatory that when you go to prison, your paperwork, for whatever reason you went to prison, gets reviewed. Right. Your charges get reviewed of why you're in prison. Right. So this guy went to prison for failing to register as an offender. Right. Because the more you look into it, no, no. So that's the thing, it's not what it used to be, man. It's not what it used to be. It's not. All right. And that's that's not fault of the organization, right? That's just fault of not having really any kind of structure. And that's what happens, right, man? When something gets so big and blown out of proportion, it's kind of hard to kind of control what everybody's doing, especially when there's nobody has to answer to nobody, right? But it's policy and mandatory that whenever you hit a unit, you have to show your records, right? Because your records come all the way with you from the county, right? Whatever you got charged with and convicted, uh, and got sentenced, all that paperwork follows you with from the county jail, right? That's mandatory, right? They tell you all your paperwork from the county. It's legal work, right? You can take it with you, right? There's only certain things that you can take with you when you catching that chain. That's your legal document and your Bible. Everything else has to go. So every copy of your court hearing, you're able to take it with you. So when you do show up to the unit, you hand that paperwork, or somebody, hey, why are you in here for? You show them the paperwork. Hey, this is what I'm in here for. This is what I'm in here for. Right. So somewhere he slipped through the cracks, right? And the reason he slipped through the cracks was he had a juvenile, right? And I've been watching a couple of his interviews, right? He said he caught his first case at 10 years old, right? He says he caught his first case for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. That's according to him, right? On one of his interviews, right? That he caught at 10 years old as a juvenile. But if you go and you look at his paperwork, see, I don't know who that person got to that juvenile record, because you can't just find that juvenile record, right? Somebody had to access it and put it out there. No, it's no longer about prison. You know, he got the name of Houstone. That name itself is a badge of honor to some people. See, people have to understand, once you get convicted of certain crimes, you're no good, man. Alleged and convictions are totally two different things. Two totally different things, man. Once you're convicted, hey, that's what they said you did, and you did it, and you're going for the ride. That's what I don't understand. That if you have something so shady that people are going to be able to pop up, why? Come on, man. His victim was 5 years old, right? Him being 10. Does it make it any better that he was a kid doing it to another kid? No, right? Because at 10 years old, man, I think you already know better, man. But that's the harsh reality that people. Juvenile is full of these guys, right? It all starts, majority of the time, it starts at juvenile, man. A lot of these predators begin in juvenile. That's why, to me, juvenile was, I guess, a lot more scarier, man. Right? Because there's really no rules in there, man. You know, in juvenile, and the juvenile in Texas is kind of fucked up, man. They really don't care about you. They just throw you in and throw you whatever, and you have to survive. Right? And because I see the video earlier, right? Yes, he's Tango Blast, right? He is Tango Blast. He represents Tango Blast, but collectively he falls under Houstone, right? But you have to understand, Tango Blast is the collective of 4 cities. right? Dallas, Houston, Austin, and Fort Worth. So wherever you fall, that's who dictates your program, right? Because I'm gonna tell you like this: the Tango Blast from Dallas is totally different from the Tango Blast from Houston. It's totally different, man. Right? The Tangos from Dallas that I met, they were old school Chicano lowriders, Tejanos. Uh, it was a different culture than the homeboys from Houston. Right? Like I said, when I was in there in the 2001, the homeboys from Houston were like the pioneers of integrating with the blacks, right? About saying, hey, we can play with them, we can gamble with them, we can do certain things, but we can't do this, right? But before it was a no-no, right? It was a no-no, right? You couldn't associate with them, right? You couldn't gamble, you couldn't even through if you were sellies. But the Houston were the kind of they're the ones that made that motion, right? Because a lot of them were cool. You know, a lot of them grew up just like a lot of us did in Dallas. Right? We grew up with them, right? But Houston, they're the ones that decided to take it a little bit further by embracing them a little bit more, right? Embracing their culture more. So there's differences. You know what I mean? There's differences in the tangos, just like I'm pretty sure just like it is in California, how you have the southern and the northerners, right? At the end of the day, they're both Mexicans from California, but they have different swag, right? Just like if you go, the Mexicans from Dallas are not the same Mexicans from Austin. You go further to the border town, to the Ayuco and there, those Mexicans are not like Houston Mexicans or like Dallas Mexicans, right? Now you go to West Texas, you go to West Texas, and it's a whole totally different breed of Mexican, right? Nowhere, nowhere is this acceptable, right? He must have not shown the homeboys all the paperwork, right? And that's the thing with these guys, man. I seen a lot of these guys always want to be the ones to volunteer to do stuff, right? They're the ones getting the fucking Joker face tattoos. They're doing all this for a persona, right? And it's always like, why? Why? But I think he thought that his juvenile record wasn't going to get released. But I think he's been making motion recently with his music. I think he got a track with Big X the Plug, right? So who's to say that the victim didn't see this dude making motion and saying, you know what? If he's making money, maybe I can get some of that money that he's making off the motion. Because somebody had to get that juvenile record released, man. And that's the thing I tell y'all, man. Texas, y'all can get any kind of record, man. Juvenile records were supposed to be sealed unless it was himself that did it or the victim that did it or somebody forged his signature and got the paperwork, right? And put it out there. I don't see him doing it. I don't see himself putting himself out there. So somebody must have seen him create motion with his music and said, "Oh man, it's time for me to get paid." Because he even admits it. You know, he caught his juvenile case at 10 years old. At 10 years old, And it tells you right there, the disposition, right? Disposition was juvenile probation. So they must have gave him at least probation till he was 21, probably, man, for that offense and crime. Maybe till he was 8, because juvenile, they keep you until you're 18 or 21, man. Once you get into the juvenile system, they'll keep you up to your 21, and then they'll transfer you to prison. So he must have just slipped through the cracks, right? But now, since he was big blasting, now whoever allowed him to get those stars on his face, because those stars you have to earn them, man. Them stars are not just they're given and earned, right? It's a badge of honor, man. Well, that's the way it used to be when I went to prison, right, man? It was a badge of honor. Not anybody could just put a star on them. At the most, all you could do was put your city, all right? Put your city and let people know, hey, I'm from Dallas, right? Then down the road, people started putting on the stars from all the different cities. But at one point, it was supposed to be earned, right? Then all of a sudden, everybody just started putting them on, and it lost purpose, the value of what it really meant. And that's what I said earlier, man. One bad apple can make the basket of apples look bad, man, for everybody else. But since I don't think, to be honest, right now, I don't think the legal system is his worries. I don't think the legal system is his worry at this point in time right now. Because there's a lot of homeboys from Houstone that are going to feel some type of way, right? Not only they're going to feel some type of way, but you're calling yourself Houstone. Houstone smooth, right? You're carrying the whole team on your back. And I think that's his most concern right now, right? His concern is not the legal authorities. I'll tell you that right now. There's going to be homeboys from Houston that are going to be feeling some type of way. And I think that's his concern, right? That should be his mostly concern. I don't think the authority. I think these are, see, because I don't know how old he is really, right? This 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 happened in 2010, right? So that's 15 years ago that he didn't register as a sex offender, right? He caught his offense as a juvenile. So I guess if you're an offender as a juvenile, it leads over. They should. They should. Right? They should. Because it's given a bad name to Houston. It's given a bad name to the collectively as a whole. Yes. Once he being alleged of doing something to being convicted is two totally different things, right? Two totally different things, right? I can't argue a conviction, right? I can argue allegations, right? I can prove allegations, right? I can do that. There's the difference. Once you're convicted, there's nothing you can do from backtracking that. That's it. That's it. Right? That's it. That's it. Once you get convicted of those charges, even through as a juvenile, it's no good. So somebody that really doesn't like him, I'm thinking it's the victim. I'm thinking somebody in the victim's inner circle, because they're not too far of age, right? The guy was 10 years old when he caught his charge. And it tells you right there the victim was 5, male victim. It tells you right there, right? Disposition, juvenile probation. But as he got older, I don't think he understood that once you become a S offender, even as a juvenile, I guess that follows you all your life. So maybe he thought that maybe once he became an adult, that document was sealed. That document was supposed to be sealed, right? But it seems like either somebody forged this, signature to get documents unsealed, or the victim's inner circle is watching this guy get kind of motion in the music business, right? That's the thing, man. People start seeing these guys on YouTube having 200,000 views, 300,000 views on their videos, and they start thinking, oh man, this guy's probably making money. Why not come out and said, hey, this guy did this to me? Yeah, I agree. I totally agree, man. I totally agree. I mean, people be thinking, oh, well, you got a fucked up charge. Man, I don't got a fucked up charge, right? My name got thrown in the mix of something fucked up. Yes. Yes. Right. But I didn't have to go through the motions of proving myself innocent, right? The state of Texas did that itself, right? The state itself did it, right? I didn't have to go through the motions of proving myself innocent, right? I didn't have to. And that's why uh I tell people, man, if I tell you, you're not gonna believe me, right? Because you've already formulated your opinion about me, right? You've already said I did this, I did that, I did the worst of the worst, right? But you're not gonna take the time that if what you're saying is true, I would have a conviction just like this dude would, right? That everything that you said that I did, I would have a conviction, right? I wouldn't have no document saying no bail, right? This guy got a conviction, right? For not registering as an S offender, right? He caught his charge at 10 years old, right? It tells you everything, his disposition, his case, right? So now you can go and look for statements and everything, court hearings, how much did he post bond? How much uh what day did he go to court hearing for this? What was his arraignment? What was his bond fee? Was he able to post bond? All this stuff you can find it, right? You can find all this. That way you can paint a better picture. That's why I went to go. I seen this guy's video that he did about him. I'm just like, let me go check if it's true, right? I went, I found the other documents, I just can't find that juvenile document, right? That somebody either released it or somebody forged his signature to get that document unsealed as a juvenile. Because there's only certain people that can do it, man. Yourself, the victim, and that's mostly it, man. Those are the only two people that can get a document unsealed. The victim and the perpetrator. Right? The predator, he ain't gonna want to do it. He don't want that document unsealed. So it's most likely the inner circle of the victim. See, so if you get 2,000 views, you're doing all right. I guess, but then again, how do you even know if those 2,000 views are real? I don't know. It could probably be, man. Because Big X the plug, he's a pretty good trending rapper right now out of Dallas. So if you get a collab with him, I'm pretty sure you'll probably get a couple of thousand, 100,000 views, right? So I'm thinking that somebody in the victim's inner circle said, "Hey, this guy's making motion out there with his music. I think we got a pretty good case. I mean, he was already convicted on what he did to you. You're still living through trauma. Your life's been messed up ever since he did that to you at a young age. So, because juvenile records don't get released, man. It's kind of hard, you know what I mean? It's only certain people that can get like himself and the victim. Because I can't even find that actual document, man. I can find all the other documents like the mug shots and the registry and all the other bullshit, right? The charges and shit. But I just can't find that juvenile document. So whoever put it out there, it's a good thing they put it out there, man. Because this dude was projecting a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? And it's making the whole state of Texas look bad, right? But he falls under the Houstone. And like I said, when it only becomes another Tango's problem when there ain't no Houstone around. All right. But we're in the free world right now, right? And there's Houstone members all over the place that should be able to clean up their mess. Because that's what it is a mess. It's a mess, right? He should have never been able to put any stars on him. And that's the honest reality, man. That's the honest. And I see like I seen a dude put the video up there, right? That's why I didn't label my Tango blast, right? I put it Houston. Because every Tango has to deal with their own trash. I'm not saying go out there and smash the dude, right? I'm not saying that. But at the same time, he's carrying the name of the city on his back. And I know the homeboys from Houston don't want that, right? They don't want to be tied into no shit like that. So I'm pretty sure the homeboys are going to reach out to him and tell him to take that name off, right? It's not for a Dallas Tango to tell him. It's not for a Tango from Austin to tell him. It's not a Tango from Fort Worth to tell him. It's Houston, right? Houstone is the one that needs to clear the air out. Because collectively, he's giving the whole Tango Blast a bad look. All right. Collectively. Because that's what it originally started, right? The four, the four cities. Because I seen, because people are gonna start putting Tango Blast with that narrative, right? Yes, there's bad apples in every organization, right? Every organization has bad apples, man. But we're not a gang. That's what people fail to understand, that Tango Blast is not a gang. Maybe I don't know how it is now because I haven't been involved in over 20 years, right? But I'd be reading comments and say, hey, there ain't no better than what the farmers used to be now, right? They're extorting, they're hogging, they're doing everything that they fought for against. They're doing the same thing. I read the comments, so I don't know. I haven't been there, right? But it wasn't like that in the beginning, man. Like when I went to prison in the 2001, it was like an era of not like peace, but the Congo Blacks had already laid down foundation and said, hey, this is what it is, right? Early 2000. The late 90s is when the good stuff was going on, right? The wars, everybody fighting, everybody, putting in the work. Yeah, see, it kind of, I don't, and this dude, he was talking highly of himself, right? Like too highly to where, the stories just don't add up, man. Later on, I'm gonna chop up his videos and be like, man, like, so he went to juvenile at 10 years old, right? His victim, I don't know how old the dude is. Maybe he's in his early 30s or maybe, because that picture right there is 2010, right? So I don't know how old he is, right? I don't, I'm gonna go look into it more, right? But he caught his case as a juvenile at 10 years old. They gave him probation. He kept on catching cases of, possession here, burglary, theft. So eventually they sent him off to Giddings. Thankfully, I never went as far as going as Giddings, right? I went to like boot camps and 30, 60-day placements, placement homes, shit like that, right? I never got sent off to Giddings or any kind of fucking TYC, right? Because juvenile, the placements, the boot camps, it was bad enough for me, right? So I could just imagine how TYC is, right? And I had friends that went to TYC for life. They came out at 21, right? A lot of them came out with no fucking teeth. And a lot of these dudes that come out from TYC, man, they're kind of like maniacs, man. They're kind of I didn't see this. I didn't see my homeboy after we were huffing Tolly one day. Maybe we were 13, 14. I didn't see him no more till we was 21. All right. And I'm like, man, where the fuck you been at? TYC, bro. I said, you just ready to get out? He goes, yeah, I ain't got nowhere to go. I said, well, fuck, come to the trap, man. Work the traps then. Right. But this dude, I couldn't keep him under control, man. You know, he was maybe 5'4", 100 pounds, soaking wet, no teeth, but he had a big ass heart, man. You know, he had a big ass heart, man. That I give him that, man. He got a couple of fucking bodies under his belt, man. I give him that, right? Because he's motherfucker's been he's been able to get away with that shit, right? So I give him props on that, right? So these guys that go to juvenile, man, and spend a lot of time in juvenile, it's a lot to me. Like in county jail, in the county jail, I never got into a fight with any kind of adults, right? I didn't. Nobody bullied me. Nobody picked on me. Nobody did nothing, right? But now in juvenile, man, they was fighting every other day, man, right? Because somebody would say something stupid, or somebody would say a mama joke, or somebody would insult you, or somebody. So it was a fight, man. When I went to prison, I maybe got into like 2, 3 fights, right? But I think I did maybe 6 months to 9 months juvenile placements, boot camp, shit like that before they were trying to send me to Giddings, right? Because if you don't do boot camp and you quit boot camp, man, they're sending you off to Giddings, right? They're sending you off. So I went and I did the boot camp, man. That was my last option, right? Doing the boot camp. And even then, it's like, man, it's just fighting every other day, fighting over stupid shit, right? Over somebody joking on you. In prison, it's more about respect on how you carry yourself, right? Be respectful, right? Don't look into people's houses. Don't look into nobody's home. Don't look into nobody's cell. It's respectful, man. It's just having manners, right? Being cordial. Don't bump into nobody. Don't cut in front of nobody. Don't do disrespectful stuff, right? In prison, to me, was more about respect. If you carried yourself with respect and you respected everybody else. Now, if you were a fucking loudmouth like you're in juvenile, man, people are gonna get annoyed by you, man. People are gonna test you, right? Perfect example, man. My homeboy that came out of TYC, right? He came out of TYC, right? And we had another older homeboy, right? And my homeboy would tell me, man, I'm gonna smoke that dude. I'm like, man, why you gonna smoke him for, bro? He's like, man, because when I was locked up, uh, he went out with my mom, and he took advantage of my mom when my mom was drunk, right? So in his mind, this dude did something to his mom, right? And every time, man, every time he'd be like, man, I'm gonna go do him in, man. I'm gonna go do him in. And I would talk him down, right? I would talk and be like, chill out, bro. You know, it's not worth it right now. Me, not that I didn't think that he would do it, because I knew he would do it, right? Plus, I didn't want the heat coming over to me, right? So I couldn't control my homeboy, man. He was a hothead. I couldn't control him. He was fighting with them. I would leave the trap at one of my other home. I would leave the responsibility of the trap to one of my homeboys, and they would take turns, shifts, right? It would be shifts. 12 hours, 12 hours. Right. So whoever controlled the 12 hours had to stay in the permit, right? That's what it was, you know? But he would get into it with everybody. All my homeboys that were already established with me, even through he was from my younger childhood days, I still brought him in, right? But I couldn't control him, right? He was into fighting everybody, right? That's how juvenile makes you, right? Somebody says something to you, you want to just steal off on him and start fighting, right? There was times that I would just be talking and be like, "Hey, old boy just stole off on old boy." I'm like, "Oh, fuck." You know what I mean? There I have to go over there to control somebody from killing some each other, right? And then it got to the point where I said, "Look, bro, I can't do it no more, bro. You know, here goes $200. You know, get you some work, get on your feet, man. I can't do it no more, bro. You just causing too much conflict, man." You know what I mean? So he went with another clique, right? Another clique that I knew that we grew up, right? He went over there and they got tired of him saying, "I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that" to that guy. And no later than a week that he goes over there and starts hanging out with them, he pops two dudes, right? He pops a dude that he's been telling me he's gonna pop. And I've been telling him, "Man, leave it alone, man. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Leave it alone." I've always been able to talk him down from stop doing that, right? Once he left where I couldn't have no control, I couldn't tell him what to do anymore. He went over there. The other people put the key behind him and wound him up, and he went on a mission. I give him I give him that, man. I give him that. You know what I mean? He said he was going to do it, and he did it. He did it. But there was always something about him, man. That juvenile. It's because juvenile is a lot worse, man. You want to be accepted by the pack, right? When you go to prison, you kind of already a man of your own. I mean, you've already like, fuck it. I already know what I have to do. If I have to put it in somebody, then I have to put it in somebody. You've already made up your mind as an adult, right? That damn, I'm going into this environment, and it is what it is. But as a kid in the juvenile facility, you want to be accepted, man. You want to be part of the pack. So you become a follower, right? That's how it is in juvenile. There's a lot of people trying to normalize the deviancy in juvenile. Like it's okay. And that's where a lot of these predatory behaviors begin at, man. It's sad to say. It's sad to say. But the good thing, you see, when you're in over here, like in Dallas, they have the Lone Star, right? When the Lone Star got built, each juvenile had their own cell, right? So it's not like you were going to sleep with anybody else in your cell, right? Nobody else was in your cell, which is basically like the county jail for juveniles at Lone Star. That's what they call it, Lone Star, right? There you have your own cell. But once you go to TYC and everywhere else, it's just like prison, right? You're in a dorm environment, a cell environment, and you actually do have a celly then, or multiple cellies, depending on where you go. It's what you have to understand, man, that juvenile is full of fucking testosterone, man. Gunslingers left and right, right? I'm glad, man. I'm glad that I didn't go to fucking TYC, man. I think I would have probably been a lot more fucking because honestly, what made me more into I guess a person to have balls was juvenile, right? Because prison was really nothing, man. To me, prison. I guess I probably went at a time where there was nothing really going on, right? When I went to prison, everybody was making money, man. Right? Everybody. The PRMs were making money. Everything switched over, man. It's like before the 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 El Partido Revolucionario Mexicano used to be over Mexicles, and now it seems like Mexicles got its own tango now, right? But before it wasn't like that when I was in prison, right? When I was in prison, Mexicles answered to PRM. A lot of things switched up, man. A lot of things switched up because people would tell you, people that are in the prisons in the 80s and the 90s would tell you the 2000s and what they are now is no longer a prison, man. See, there's a lot of, in prison, it's more respect, man. But this guy, it's bad. You know what I mean? It's bad because collectively, it's already bad enough that Congo Blast is already looked at from other states awkwardly, right? It's already looked at as awkward, right? And this doesn't help the case. It doesn't help the case, man. It doesn't. And then I was reading comments, right? I was reading some of his comments on some interviews that he did, and there was people saying, "Hey, weren't you at French Robertson where you were trying to set you were trying to do something with the TS prospect, right?" So somehow he was trying to maybe make a peace treaty with the TS at French Robertson since he knew a TS prospect, right, from the streets. So I guess somehow they were going to try to make some type of unity between them or some kind of a peace treaty, right? Like saying, hey, based on his relationship with this TS prospect, right? There's a lot of stuff, man. That's why if you go read the comments on certain people's videos, it gives you a lot of ideas. You know what I mean? Like it gives you like, okay, so this dude was at French Robertson trying to create a different motion. And I was surprised that this dude Smooth replied to that person on that comment. He goes, "Yeah, I know that dude. We were trying to create something different, something for the people, right?" And there's nothing wrong, man. I mean, there's nothing wrong with unity, man. I mean, because at the end of the day, we're all from Texas. We're all from Texas, man. At the end of the day, right? We're all from Texas, and I'm pretty sure it don't matter if you're from Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Corpus. You're all proud. We're all proud of being from Texas. I'm proud to be from Texas, right? I'm proud to be from Dallas, Texas. You can't have Dallas without Texas, and you can't have Texas without Dallas. So it's like it's just a bad all around look. I mean, especially for him to be having the name of the city. You see, because that a lot of people, a lot of homeboys shed blood to be able to put that E behind that Houston, right? A lot of homeboys shed blood to be able to put that E behind Houston. Houston and Houston are two different things, right? When you say I'm from Houston, man, that means you're just an average Joe. But when you say you're from Houston, that means you repping, right? That means you got the city on your back. And that's the thing, man, that the homeboys, if not already, are feeling some type of way, man. Right? I'm pretty sure the real active ones, I'm not active, right? I'm not active because the way we function, once you leave those walls, that's it. You're not active no more. You're not an active, right? But you can always show love to what you once were, right? You can always show love, right? It's just like the military servicemen, man. They serve in the army and the military, whatever branch they serve. Even through that, they're not in service no longer. They still show camaraderie for the ones that are still active. And I still have homeboys that are active and still locked up, right? And that's paying homage, man. Right? I'm not active, but I guarantee you there's a lot of active homeboys. Tango stands against everything negative, right? We're not allowed to hog people, man. We're not allowed to extort people. We're not allowed to become what we fought against for, right? But now that's what it's become, right? That's I've read comments in a lot of people's videos that saying, man, Congo Blast ain't no different than what a farmer used to be. Right? In a way, I kind of, what can you expect when there's really no kind of structure, right? There's really no kind of structure, and you got a bunch of solid dudes that are going to do whatever they want to do. All you can do is try to keep everything as much in control as you can, right? Under a pressure cooker. But by him labeling himself Houston, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, man, that if the homeboys from Houston tell this dude to wipe that off. Because there's a lot of homeboys that were actually in that field. You see, I wasn't in that battlefield that much, man. Like I said, man, when I went, I did my time in medium custody, and there was nothing like it seemed like we were more at odds with each other than with anybody else. Right. And that's what it seemed like, man. It seemed like cliques, small cliques amongst one big clique, right? Because yes, we're collectively tango, but inside this tango, you have two dudes, three, four dudes that kick it together, and then you might have another two, three, four dudes that kick it together. So you have smaller groups and amongst this one big old group, right? Because yes, I might have had like at one point 20 homeboys on one block, right? But I only interacted with maybe three or four of them on a cool basis, right? The other ones were just a quick handshake and what's up, homeboy? But the other ones was, what's up, bro? You getting the mail today? Who wrote you? You know, the more of the interaction with only certain people, a handful, right? Even through you got multiple homeboys, you only gravitate to like 2 or 3 people that are like minded. And when I went, man, it wasn't, that's why people tell me, I don't have no prison stories, man. I only did 2 years, right? Uh, what I witnessed in those 2 years was people making money, right? When I seen somebody get fucked off, it was for them not paying a debt or running off with the pack money or giving fake money off, right? Uh, the times that we got in with the Crips was because the Crips were stealing, right? Uh, the Latin Kings, they were trying to raise their flag. Uh, it wasn't really nothing really going on, man. Everybody was set out to make money, right? Everybody, man. Because like on my block, my homeboy was making money, right? And then you had a PRM making money, right? He had his own plug coming in from the unit, right? He had his own logistics setup. So I went to prison at a time where it was like peace, man, and people were making money. To me, it was like a wide open, man. Everybody was making money, man. And I guess maybe that's why there wasn't that much conflict, right? Because when people are making money, nobody wants conflict, right? And I seen other people. I seen RU members walk. I seen other people from other organizations walk, right? And nobody was messing with them, right? Nobody was bothering anybody. But in other units, I'm pretty sure it was a lot more hectic, man. I mean, according to other people got some horrific stories, man. I didn't get to witness that side. You know what I mean? I guess I was not blessed, man, but I didn't have that much time, man. Like, with 2 years, where the fuck am I gonna go? I was even lucky. I was not even supposed to hit any kind of ID unit. I went to Middleton, Central, back to Diagnostic, back to Huntsville. I went through like 5 units before they labeled me medium custody. I 2 years is it's nothing in Texas, man. 2 years, it's nothing. I had homeboys that had already been down 10, 15, 20 years, right? Telling me, man, I already did your time. Just if I was to take all the time of me taking a shit, it's probably the same time you done, man. I probably done the same time amount you done taking a shit. Right? They used to clown me. They used to make fun of me, man. Right? I'm with dudes with 40-year sentences, lives, 85s, 65s. I know some of them felt some type of way, right? But at the same time, man, I was young, man. I didn't care. You know what I mean? A lot of them, you know, like my homeboy, he got mad at me for quitting welding school, right? He goes, "You're gonna quit? You know what time it is, right?" Because that was the whole point back then, man. It was to better the homeboy, right? He goes, "If you're gonna stop going to welding, then you're gonna have to catch a fade." right? Because you're leaving that spot why another homeboy could have got that spot, right? Maybe that homeboy could have gotten and benefited off of it. But since you got short time, they show you favoritism instead of showing somebody that has a 20-year sentence. They put him at the end of the list, right? But since you have a short sentence, they favor short people and to put them into educational programs, right? Because they're only going to be here short time. Somebody with the 20-year sentence, they feel like, hey, you got 20 years. Put your I-60 for school in about 4 years, and then we can probably enroll you, depending on how many short time people are. They're going to show favoritism to the short time people, right? That's how I got out the fields. I got out the fields by getting my GED, right? By me being 18 and being a short timer and not having my GED, they automatically enrolled me into GED, right? To make me get my GED while I was there. But anybody else that had a life or a lot of time, man, they were getting put on the waiting list for these programs, right? So I kind of understood why homeboys would feel some type of way by me quitting that welding program, right? And knowing that it was going to pay me, it was going to pay off for me in the long run, right? If I would have just stuck it out, I would have got my certificate as a welder for free, right? I could have probably had my own welding rig by now. Uh, maybe my life would have been different, right? Being a welder. But I didn't know no better, right? I had homeboys telling me and lacing me up, but being young and hard headed, you don't want to listen to that, right? You don't want to wake up, My thing is that we were right all night and sleep majority of the day, right? Until day room time. So I wouldn't want to get up at 4 o'clock, right? That was the thing. But that was the thing back then, man. I mean, back then it was really but then I started seeing homeboys wanting to break homeboys, right? Like somebody will come in and they would dictate and pick and choose, be like, no, we're gonna give this one now. We're not, and it's mandatory that everybody gets a check anywhere every time you go, right? So if they liked you, they'd go easy on you. They would go easy on you. If they didn't like you and they wanted to break you, they would go hard on you, right? So even through you passed it, they were still going to be looking for any kind of opportunity to throw you under the bus, right? Just because they didn't like you, right? It was no more camaraderie. It started becoming and I guess after time, it probably started evolving like that, more instead of becoming for the people, it started becoming predatory behavior amongst each other, which it was frowned upon, right? I mean, we couldn't even really fight amongst each other, man. I mean, if that's what they told us, like if y'all have street beefs from the beginning, it ends here. Because if we catch y'all fighting amongst each other, y'all know what time it is. I don't know, man. Back then, it seemed like, but back then, when I went, there was still a lot of the veterans, man, the ones that set the foundation, right? And as time goes, a lot of those guys that set the foundation for what it is either got released or they kind of stepped back because they started seeing where it was going, right? A lot of the old schools, they started stepping back, right? They started saying, we don't want to be a part of that. That's not what we created. And they started going to the Christian, right? They started becoming Christians. They just didn't want to deal with it, right? Because they started seeing the change. And it's when something is so big, it's kind of hard to change it. Like I said it before, man. In Texas, there's over 100 prisons. There's over 100 prisons. So what goes on one prison might not go in another prison. Each unit, it's its own world of its own, right? Back then, when I went to prison, you could still write your homeboy at another unit, right? You could still write your homeboy and be like, "Hey, homeboy, hey, I made it over here. These guys want to know what I was doing over there." Now you can't do that no more, right? You can't reach out to another prison to be able to dictate, "Hey, the homeboys are over there doing this over there." The only way you're going to be able to find out if somebody comes from that unit and say the homeboys were doing this over there, and it's going to be up to the homeboys here that we're like, "No, no, homeboy, we're going to do the same thing we're doing over here." If they were doing it over there like that, they were doing it over there. But over here, we're going to continue doing it the way we're doing it. So it kind of it kind of sucks, man. You know, it kind of sucks because I know there's a lot of active homeboys, man, and there's a lot of active homeboys from different tangos that are feeling like, man, categorizing tango blast as a whole, right? But first, they have to understand the dynamics on how we operate and function. They have to understand that we're not a gang. First, they have to understand that, right? We're not a gang. We didn't come to an existence to control the black markets or any of that shit, right? It was basically for self-preservation. That's it. Do your time like a man and go home. That's it. But when something gets so big, it's kind of hard, man. It's kind of hard, right? Because nobody, even through he had convictions, he could have left his paperwork out, right? He could have took with him all the other paperwork except that charge, right? He could have thrown that charge away, and he could have got to that unit. And since he knew he had something on his jacket, those are the first ones that want to volunteer, right? They're the ones that want to volunteer to put in the work, right? So they can build credibility, right? Build credibility amongst each other, right? I don't think it was any of the homeboys' fault because maybe he was being deceitful from the beginning and not showing the whole paperwork that he had, right? To where he could have gave the homeboys the option and the opportunity to say, "Nah, homeboy, we see that you want to get down with us, man, but we don't accept this. We don't accept these type of charges." Because if he has to register as a sex offender, that means you've been convicted, right? If you fail to register as a sex offender, you've already been convicted. So if any of the homeboys checking his paperwork would have came across any of that information, They would have not let him join. It's not like Dongo Blast openly and knowingly accepts this. No, they don't. No, they don't. Now, if he was deceitful and not being honest because he was scared and he was trying to hide the truth, and he passed the tryouts, because that's what a quota check is, right? A quota check. See, that's the thing. A lot of people think, oh, yeah, I accept everybody. No, we don't, man. You have to make the tryouts. It's like a football team, man. Everybody tries out, but not everybody makes the cut. You have to understand. Sometimes you're fighting 2 to 3 people either at the same time or back to back, depending on where you're at. If you're in a cell, it's going to be back to back, right? You're going to get one, and then the other one's going to backdoor you, and then the other one's going to backdoor you again, depending on how they want to do the tryouts, right? Not everybody makes the team. Not everybody makes the cut. So when a lot of people say, oh, they accept everybody, to an extent, yes, right? If you come, you got good paperwork and you got heart, you pass the tryouts, you're accepted. You meet the qualifications, you pass the test, you're accepted. You're embraced. But he didn't give the homeboys the proper opportunity to make that call, right? So he became a member of Houstone under deceitful actions, right? Which in any organization means, and that's the thing that happens, man. A lot of the time, this information goes unnoticed for years, right? And he's carrying the name as a title, as a badge of honor, Houstone Smooth. And like I said, man, the homeboys from the early '90s that really put in that work to be able to put that E behind the Houston. Because you got to take in consideration, there was a lot of people from all sides of the Tangos that put in work, man, to be able to raise that flag. And for this guy to smut it up like that, knowingly he had it, right? Knowing he had those charges, because it's not like he didn't know he had those charges. And he knew he was convicted of it, right? He knew he was convicted of those charges. So in reality, he should have never been able to become Tango Blast. That's the honest truth, right? He became a Tango Blast member of being deceitfulness, not telling the whole truth, right? So now when the truth comes out, Houston has only one job to do, right? and that's to clean up their trash. That's the way it works, man. Collectively, we are Tango Blast. Collectively. But we're all each our own different franchise. Right? You got Dallas, Austin, and Fort Worth and Houston. We're our own independent franchise. What Houstone does, we might not do. We might have similarities, but we're all under the Tango Blast umbrella. So the way it works in prison is that if a Houstone member is trash, it's the responsibility of Houstone to clean it up. That's just the way it goes, right? It's not uh it's not Dallas Tangos. It's not Fort Worth Tango. It's not nobody else's tango. All we can do is is let it be known. Be like, hey, what's going on with that side of town, bro boy? Because collectively, you got to understand, we're under this whole umbrella. We are collectively one, but different identities, right? So when you have to clean up the mess of your own out here in the free world, right? It's kind of going to be kind of hard, right? Because, like I said, there really shouldn't be any active members out here, right? Because we're not supposed to function like that. But times have changed, right? Times have changed, right? Who's not to say that there's active homeboys still, being part of the logistics for in there, right? If I was part of a logistics in there, then why not continue my logistics out here? You know what I mean? If it was going good and far so far while I was in there, maybe it'll go better when I'm out here, where I can control a little bit more of it, right? So for me to say that there's no actives out here and not knowing the times have changed, there probably is a one or two active out here, right? But we're not structured like that to where it's mandatory. But I guarantee you, there's going to be homeboys from Houstone reaching out to him. Even his own, if he has Houstone in his inner circle, homeboys in his inner circle, not just people that are going to hit him up to the DMs or messaging, but in his actual inner circle, they're going to be questioning him. Say, homeboy, what about that, homeboy? Say, homeboy, what's that? Because I seen the interview. He did an interview, right? He goes, I named myself Houstone because I'm putting all the homeboys on my back. And he goes, some homeboys were mad about that, but some homeboys understood why I would put Houstone in front of my name. Is that out of staters are going to look at Dongle Blast in a funny way. But they have to understand how it works, right? We don't, a Dallas Dongle is not going to dictate a Houstone's program. Right? They kind of run themselves. We only come together when the shit hits the fan, right? When the shit hits the fan, that's when we come together. But for the most part, Every Tongo's doing their own thing, right? Yes, we let everybody know amongst what we're doing, but for each one, everybody's doing their own thing, man. And and I was reading comments, right, that the homeboys that let this dude in, it's not really the homeboy's fault, man, because maybe he was deceitful, right? Maybe he was deceitful and not provide all the documents, so he was able to slip through the cracks, right? Being deceitfulness. So it's like stolen valor, right? You were able to join an organization of false pretense, right? Which is bad to begin with, right? If the homeboys were aware of this, they would have never made them. So I made this video because I seen a video where they were like, oh, they just accept. No, no. If the homeboys were aware of these documents, they would not have made them, right? Because these are convictions. These are not allegations. They're convictions, right? Convictions. Convictions. Convictions and allegedly this, that. No. Convictions. When you cop out for a lesser crime, when you take probation for the crime, when you take boot camp for the crime for you plead out to a lesser crime, right? Like they had this thing called shock probation, right? Before they send you here to prison, well, I don't know if they have it, right? But they used to have this thing called shock probation. They send you to TDC, I think either 3 to 9 months, right, to boot camp, right? TDC boot camp. I don't think they have it anymore, but they used to. They used to have it in the 90s. They're sending you to boot camp for 90 days, I think 60 or 90 or 120 days. I can't remember, right? But it was shock probation. If you couldn't do those months in probation and shock probation, which meant boot camp, you were going to TDC. So don't think that Tango Blast accepts people with bad charges. They don't. They don't. Right? If I would have had a conviction, I would have not been able to come Tango Blast. Right? If I had a conviction of any kind of sexual deviancy or any kind of a lesser charge, uh, or me pleading out, or me or my case looking more than what it is, because everything's documented, man. Everything's documented. Convictions and allegedly are two different things, right? And especially when you have paperwork that clears your name of these allegedly, right? That's totally different between a conviction. Totally different, man. There's no way of coming back from a conviction, right? Allegedly, anybody that's questioning you and him can review the documents and go over it, right? And be like, look, this is what it is. Everything's on the table. Let's talk about it, review it. It's totally different, man. It's totally different, right? Yes, yes, automatically, 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 man. I'm telling you, man, a lot of these dudes, all it's going to take is for somebody to stick a key behind a young dude and wind him up. Because, like I said, a lot of the originals, old heads that started this, either went home, turned into Christianity, or just completely backed away from it, right? And went the Christian road, right? They just got tired of it, right? That's the only way Tango Blast lets you leave, right? Without any repercussions, right? You fuck up, you get smashed out. You have bad paperwork, you get smashed out. It's called SOS. What's up, kid? It's called SOS, smash on sight, right? And that's what it is. But like I said, collectively, we are one, but we are independently from each other. I hope it makes sense, right? I can't dictate and tell a Houstone Tango member what to do, right? As long as he's following the rules of the blast, I cannot insert myself into the Houston politics, even through we are collectively Tango Blast. All we can say is, say, homeboy, is that true? All we can do is bring it to the attention. That's it. Just like what I'm doing right now, right? That's it. I'm not saying that I'm going to go over there and smash. No, 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 right? Like I said, I'm not active, right? I'm just doing this video because I don't want people to think that they accept anybody, right? And that there is some kind of structure. Not everybody makes it. Not everybody's accepted. This guy did not show all his paperwork. It's mandatory, man. It's mandatory that you have all your documents, right? From your case of why you got convicted. Any convictions of why you're there. That's the thing. A lot of these people, like let's say an old timer could have gone recently, but he could have been there maybe 10, 15 years ago with a bad charge, right? But now he's under this whole completely new charge, right? He got a new number, he got a new charge. So when he comes in with this new charge, you're just looking at what this new charge is, right? You're not going to go back all the way back 15, 20 years and look at his first number. You're just looking at right now of why he's in here at the moment, right? But as you can see right there, he caught a case recently for not registering. So that means whatever documents he had, he didn't show the homeboys when he got there, right? He showed them half of the paperwork. He didn't show them. Yes. So that makes his joining invalid. All right. It's invalid. Right. Now, two things. I see two things can happen, right? Like I said, we're not a criminal organization. We're not a criminal organization, right? There's nobody going to go be out there looking to do a crime on him, right? But there's always going to be somebody going to say, hey, they're going to tell him to remove that name, right? And the only ones that can tell him to remove that name are the homeboys from Houston. I can't tell him to remove Houston. I'm not Houston. Even through collectively, I'm Tango Blast. We would be Tango Blast, but I can't dictate how to tell Houston, right? That's for Houston to deal with that, right? And at the end of the day, you know what? Houston might say, you know what, man, we're not going to tell that dude. We're going to rock with them, right? But then that can cause conflict amongst the other tangos, right? So if the other tangos don't stand for this, and Houston as a tango doesn't want to clean house, I don't know, man. I would, I mean, nah. By him, by him claiming Houston and having those charges, it's a bad it's bad, man. It's bad on the tango blast. It looks bad on us, right? I'm not an active member, man, right? But if God if for any reason God punishes me and I have to go back to prison, that's who I would align myself with, right? I would probably choose do now that I'm old and I know how the system works. I would probably choose do my time a Solano, right? A solo. I'd be like, look, I got love for the city, man, but look, man, I'm old. I just want to do my time and I mind my business. That's it. I don't have. Yeah, but see, there shouldn't be little country. There shouldn't be, man. There shouldn't be. But see, that's if you look at it, all the organizations at one point or another, right, were doing something that doesn't look right, right. I've read documents, right. I've read documents where members of the TS were housed with a homosexual, right. It was his boyfriend, right, and it's documented on reports, right. So a lot of these organizations were doing and accepting people with a lot of foul charges, right. But the original stance for Tango Blast was to stand against all the negative oppression, the raping of other of inmates, right. So we came into existence almost like a protective group, right. That's what the original Tango Blast was. It was based off almost like a protective group, right. It wasn't to be an extorter. It wasn't to be fighting for the black market. But after all the families got segged, it left the power vacuum, man. Right? It left a lot of money out there on the tables. They left a lot of money. So with all the families in ad seg, the Tongos went crazy, man. They lost track of what they were really meant for. So in a way, it got kind of corrupted, right? Because I talked to some of the old guys, and a lot of the old guys, they said, man, we were based off kind of religious. He goes, because everybody else had demonics, right? You look at, he told me, you look at the ABs, all theirs was, uh, what's it called? The Viking, all the paganism, right? You look at the Mexican mafia, it was all Azatlan, right? worshiping other entities, right? The Texas Syndicate, Cuernos, they were all based off negativity. So the people that put the foundation for Tango Blast was really for it to be a protective against all the negative that was going around. But there shouldn't be a. I think in families, when you join a family, it's more a detailed background check, right? They're gonna go. I think in some cases you even got to fill out like an application, man. You know, you fill out an application, you put your information in there, uh, and if somebody does their homework and they go do their research on you, they go back and say, "Oh man, this guy got a conviction for this. He got a conviction for that. Do we accept them or not?" And most of the time, if you're beneficial, they'll bend the rules for you, right? They'll bend the rules. They will bend the rules. It's like that dude. I think that dude boxer. I think he got a R case on his jacket, right? And nobody tells him nothing, right? A lot of these characters from California have R cases on their jacket, and a lot of these people consider these guys legends with those type of cases. I might be wrong, but I think I read where that dude Rene Enrique had a case like that. And there's a lot of stuff, man. There's a lot of stuff that shouldn't be accepted, right? But if this guy would have showed all his paperwork, they would have smashed him out, man. Tongo Blast already has too many numbers, right? Losing one or two to bad charges doesn't hurt him. It doesn't hurt him. There's already too many, right? So that's why it's almost become predatory behavior amongst each other, right? There's really no enemy to fight amongst each other, right? It's almost like a anywhere you go, man. I can show you. I can show you. I did a story on this guy named Rudy Delgado, right? Rudy Delgado had an essay charge. I think AB smashed his head in with a rock, right? Took him out. Took him out. And that guy's picture of Rudy Delgado it's online right where you can see, man, like you can't even see that guy's face, man. Like that guy did a job on him, right? Not only did he smash his head in with the rock, he fucking broke the blade off in his head, right? It you look at the picture, man, it's gruesome on what that guy did to that guy. It's called I know little country. I know little countries probably know what I'm talking about, man. Where that guy Rudy Delgado, he was a Mexican, had an essay charge, and I think the white dude was either AB or AC. He was already doing a lot of time, man. They smashed his head. Let me go see if I can find. See, that's the thing that in Texas, man, I don't. It wasn't okay. It wasn't allowed, man. I don't think people. Not like Alabama, man. I think Alabama is fucking. a wild place to be incarcerated at, man. And see, and that's why a lot of the old heads created Tango Blast, man. Right? There's a lot of stories of why it got created, right? I've heard stories as a lot of guys that were coming in from the 90s weren't actually Mexicans, right? They weren't Tejanos. They weren't Chicanos. They were so a lot had to do with that as well, right? That the main gangs that was dominating in the 80s and 90s had certain qualifications for you to be able to join or meet, right? So automatically, if you weren't a Tejano, which means that you were born and raised in Texas, automatically you were going to be excluded, right? But you have to take in consideration that there's a lot of Salvadoranians, a lot of Guatemalans, a lot of Mexicans, first generation Mexicans that don't have papers but are still homeboys, right? So when a lot of these guys that were entering the prison system in the early 90s, they were already being excluded because they weren't Tejanos, right? Because the Texas Syndicate was one of the main dominant ones, and they had certain qualifications, right? So right away, if you weren't born in Texas, you were excluded, right? So that made a lot of dudes that were going to prison with a lot of time, because these are the 90s. This is the 90s where dudes are catching crime. They're going in 30, 40 at 18-year-old, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds going in with 30, 40, 45s, 50s, right? And they're bringing their gang mentality from the streets into prison. Now, the established gang is telling them, yeah, that's him, bro. That's him. That's him. It's because when you got convictions, there's no way of coming back from that, man. You have no you have no argument points. What are your argument points? You know, your argument points should have been in court hearings, right? To where you could have beat that conviction. But if you convict them, there's no way of coming back from that. There's no way of coming back from that. And when you come on social media, that video he did has about almost 200,000 views already, man. With I am big. Even when I seen the video, but see, it's always like that, man. It's always the ones that want to prove themselves too much, or the ones that have something to hide, or the ones that, man, if I do this, they won't think about that. If I do this, they won't think about this. It's almost like the crash dummy mentality, man. Because it's unacceptable, man. You know, any kind of organization might bend the rules, right? Depending on who you are, right? And that's the honest truth. That's the honest truth, man. Yeah, I don't think so either, man. And the thing about it is that I don't know who released this juvenile record, man. Because juvenile records are kind of hard to release, you know, because it's not open to the public. Juvenile records are only the person or the victim can request them to be, get a copy of it. So somebody, and that's the thing, man. And that's the thing what I tell about Mark Moore, man. People can start getting the idea that you're making money, and they can start coming out the woodworks. Because there's only two reasons that somebody would expose that paperwork. One, they want money. Two, they want harm to come about them, right? That's the only thing they did, right? Because now he got the name of a city that the city does not stand behind his charges. So now it's just like, I mean, I could see somebody reaching out to him and telling them, drop the name. Uh, Now, if he continues to push back, and say, nah, fuck that, I ain't changing the name up. Well, then that's where I think the problems are going to happen. I think, in time, somebody will reach out to him. Somebody will reach out to him and tell him, look, man, drop that name off your title. You know why? There shouldn't be no pushback. But if you want pushback, then somebody's going to give him pushback, man. Somebody's going to give him pushback, right? Because, like I said, Congo Blast is not a criminal organization. There's no bylaw saying that this, that, do this, do that. There's nothing, right? It's all going to be on the emotions on somebody feels. But then again, behind those prison walls, it's still active, right? And the way he was throwing Tango Blast out there was like if he was still in touch with the inside, right? So if he's still touching with the inside is going to reach out to him and be like, damn, man, what's up with that homeboy? They might not even call him a homeboy no more. What's up with that, man? That's you, right? There's no denying it, right? Because there's black and white, there's mug shots, there's everything that you can have to build a case and label somebody this, right? You have everything to be able to label him that. So the way he was talking on I Am Big was making it seem like he's still tied into the inside, right? Or he still has an olive branch, as you would say, right, to the inside. He says he helps people come out when they come out of prison, to try to get them work or whatnot. He tries to help them out. So all it's going to take for somebody to feel some type of way and be like, man, we don't stand behind that, bro. It's and like I said, it's going to be for Houstone. None of the other tangos, none of the other Bamas can do anything, right? Can say anything. They can express and voice their opinion. Not even then, right? The only ones that can really say something are the other tangos, right? Because collectively, we are one. That's the way they see it, right? We're collectively one. But at the same time, we're different identities. We're Dallas, we're Fort Worth, we're Austin, and we're Houston. We're different identities, but under the same corporation. So each franchise has similarities on how they run. But one franchise owner is not going to be able to dictate what another franchise owner does unless he's breaking the policy of the franchise. So that's like what I'm doing. I'm not active because by all means, once you leave, that's it, right? Nobody was supposed to be mentioning Congo Blast out here on the streets. It wasn't supposed to be mentioned, right? When I left, that was it. They told me, hey, don't go out there talking about it. It stays in here. But I guess somewhere down the road, they lost track, right? They lost track. I lost track to when I was out here, right? And I'm serving dope fiends, and the dope fiends are trying to handshake me with the blast. That's when it started to make becoming awkward to me, right? That a lot of dope fiends that I was serving, and I asked them, I said, well, where you blasting? They go, oh, I was blasting over there with so and so, right? I'm like, fuck. And then I got her smoking this shit. So I started seeing the changes, right? And now I heard that they don't let smokers in. What's going on, Jojo? How you doing, bro? And I think now they don't let smokers in, right? Dope fiends in, right? At one time, I guess they were sneaking in, right? But once you'll know who the dope fiends are, man, because you know, they're always in depth. They're always, always causing wrecks. Always, always into something, man. Then until you start looking at them, why are you in here for? Or burglary, theft. Once you start looking at shit like that, then you already start looking, oh man, these guys were probably out there on some kind of shit, right? They were probably out here, being dope fiends. And that's the thing, man, that everything has its good and bad side, man. You know, everything has their good and bad side. Yeah. See, and that's the honest truth, man. I see them all the time, man. And it's like it kind of defeats the purpose, man. Like, something that at one point you felt proud of, man. I felt proud, man. Then I see these dudes, you're like, man, y'all just making us look bad, man. It's like I can't tell you how many dudes I see at the stores, shirtless, dirty, panhandling, man. Right. And I'm like, how the fuck do you got a star on, man? How? I don't even have a fucking star on me, right? Because at the time that I was there, it meant something to get a star. I was only there for 2 years, so I wasn't gonna get no star. Right. I wasn't gonna get me no star. Right. I wasn't shooting for one either. Right. I was just passing by. I was just passing by. But now it seems like everybody has a star, man. Yeah, I don't believe it. Cause see, I don't. That's the thing. I don't know, man. Like I don't know how the other families, uh, or the bikers, do they accept Tango Blast like to become members again, man? Like uh, say a Tango Blast member didn't want to be a Tango Blast member no more. Well, what a family accept that he was a Tango Blast before, even through in theory, Tango Blast is not an organization, right? Would they be frowned upon? And so, hey, I don't. I guess maybe, right? I mean, if the bikers are letting him wear the prospect patch, and I know bikers do their background check, but then again, they don't see him as a. I don't. Maybe that's what. I don't think these families see Tango Blast like a criminal organization. They just see them like a bunch of I don't I don't think they see Tango Blast like a criminal organization to where like. But then again, maybe some might have bad blood to where like, nah, man, we went to war with y'all. We don't want to rock with y'all. Yeah, he's a rapper, bro. He's a rapper, and I think that's why this charge came up. Because lately he's been having a little buzz lately with Big X the Plug and rapping and whatnot. And I think what helped him out was that I Am Big interview, because he's had other interviews, right? He's had other interviews, but these other interviews have only been like 400, 500,000, like four or 500 views, not even 1,000 views, right? Like in the hundreds. The interview with I Am Big, I think that kind of propelled him, gave him a little bit of more notoriety to where, hey, look, I was on there, and people are, once they see you on the big platform, people want to know more about you. He goes by Houstone Smooth. So he's basically putting the whole Houstone in front of his name because that's what he represents. He goes by Houstone Smooth. And that's why I think he had those shades on in that interview. He had those shades in the interview because he didn't want people looking at his eyes. He didn't want people to, because when people lie, man, they get them beady eyes. What I call beady eyes, they look like marbles in their eyes. Their eyes just go back and forth, right? They get them beady eyes. So that's why he probably wore them glasses, knowing that he's going on a big old giant platform that somebody might recognize, right? Or somebody might be able to see some tall tales of deceit in his eyes. Yeah, yeah. I think that's what happened to this guy. I think this guy, I think he was blowing up recently in the music, man. Because for somebody to get that juvenile record released and unsealed, man, that's what that's what I'm telling them. Texas, a lot of people, man, a lot of people that are, that really put blood, shed, and tears into that name, because that's what happened, man. A lot of people shed blood and tears to be able to put that E behind that Houston. They had to put a lot of work in to be able to do that, man. So there's a lot of dudes that don't want to be their name smutted up with that, man. They don't want to be in the same sentence, right? Because it's not that they accepted him with open arms. No, he was deceitful. Damn, see, and see, I was reading. I'm like, I was reading into that, bro. By law, you can't be on there, man. If you have any kind of sexual deviancy crimes, you can't be on social media, man. You can't do that. Yeah. See, and that's the thing, because he knows, man. I don't wish nobody harm, man. But if you put yourself in situations like that and you boast and you gloat and you put yourself in front of attention to give you the spotlight, then you it's like with Mark, man. That's why I have no empathy or sympathy for Mark, because you put yourself in that situation, man. Right? You should have just left it alone. You should have just left it alone. If you knew that it could come back and bite you in the ass, leave it alone, man. Leave it alone. It's the same thing with Mark, right? This guy, I thought, this guy, yeah, you're right about that, little country. Yeah, it's not I am Big's fault. You know, it's not his fault, man. Because at the end of the day, it was a juvenile record. Even through maybe I am Big did his work, but he didn't go as far as juvenile. Nah, but I don't know because like right here, it says failure to register, and this is 2010 right here. So in 2010, he already had a failure to not register. So that would have been on his adult background. Even through the alleged crime that he did when he was 10, because he did that when he was 10, right? He talks about it in the other interview saying, oh, my father knows that I've been a psycho since I've been 10, right? So he did his crime at 10 because he did it. He said on the interview, uh, I went to juvenile at 10 years old for aggravated assault for stabbing somebody with a pair of scissors at 10 years old, right? But then when you go look at it, it's actually rape on a 5-year-old male victim. So when he was 10, he victimized a 5-year-old male. That was on the juvenile sealed record. So I don't know how that other person got that sealed juvenile record, right? But even then, his adult record already shows failure to register. So if he already has a conviction for failure to register, that means he already has a conviction for being a sex offender. Because like right now, if I look him up, all I can find, is his adult, right? I think he even got to a felon in possession of a firearm, right? I don't know what he got on that. I haven't looked into it, right? He got to that case, uh, but he should have known better, man. But I think somebody somebody's watching them make movement and motion on that music, and they probably made the victim say, "Hey, man, let's build a case against this guy, get some retribution. He's making money off YouTube. You've been traumatized all your life. Let's go after him." And believe it or not, man, there's a lot of Let me get you his name real quick. Here goes his name right here. And I think he's half white. I think he's half white. Well, no, he says he's half Japanese. Because Eric William Juliar Suliar Hornine. Because even that, man, he doesn't even have a Mexican last name. He don't even have a Mexican, unless that Sular is, but he says he's half Mexican and half Japanese. Right. Because I've been watching some of his interviews that he's had out there with small channels. And he talks about his story that, when he went to juvenile at 10, so he caught that case of a grape case at 10 years old. So I can just imagine this dude going to TYC, man, and being a sexual predator, man. If he was already a sexual predator at 10 years old, and that's just on his own, just imagine putting him in an environment with other predators that are looking for acceptance and are looking to be part of the pack. You know, being a juvenile, you want to be part of the in crowd, man. You know, you don't want to be the one being bullied, right? You don't want to be the outcast. And that's sad to say, man, that's a lot of stuff that goes on in juvenile, man. That's where a lot of this shit happens, right? Because they catch, like for myself, right? When I was a kid, uh, they catch you when you're in your hormones, right? When you're fucking like, you know, everything gets you erected, right? And that's just being realistic as a man, right? You watch a female, any part of a female will get you aroused when you're in that you're in that age of puberty, right? You have no control of your rage, right? Like once you whacked off, you're like, oh, I'm gonna try whacking off again. That's just the life of a puberty age boy, right? Every kid goes through that, man. Right? Now throw in being part fruity with the alphabet community. So if you're already victimizing people of your same sex, and then you go to an environment where this is kind of being normalized, this deviancy is being kind of normalized, because it is being normalized in juvenile halls, right? You got one guy doing it, and then you have another one, and then you have another one because he doesn't want to be part. He doesn't want to be, he'll join the party, right? And it's all called normalization of the deviancy, right? It happens in juvenile more than it does in prison, man. And then you have to understand why, right? Because it's a lot of these kids, you know, if they've been with a woman, if they've never been with a woman, it's just a bad mixture, right? And then you throw in a guy like this that was already victimizing people at the age of 10 years old sexually. And then you throw him in an environment where, hey, this is kind of the normal. Because I read his comments, man. His comments when he replies to people, he goes, yeah, that getting molded us, desensitizes us to becoming animals, right? So I'm like, damn, bro. But then you got to understand the mind of what he was at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. He was a fucking predator, right? A predator at a very young age. He thought going to prison that people were going to be turning people out left and right. No, prison doesn't work like that, right? It's frowned upon. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but people find out, man, you become the black sheep, man. Yep. Yep. And that's the thing with this dude, man. That why come out, man? If you're gonna have something to be shameful of, why come out? Why put yourself in a spotlight, in a situation? Like why? But I get it, man. You know, people get a taste of 15-minute sensation. And like the 40-year-old virgin. Man, fuck. It's like I can't remember how many fucking socks I destroyed. You know what I mean, man? I think sometimes I will go sockless, man. Go to school. One sock would be missing. I'd be like, damn, what happened to my other sock? Yeah, that's what that's what I'm trying to explain to the audience, little country, that a lot of the old solid ones that really put the foundation and laid and were able to raise the flag, a lot of them dudes got more time. Some of them dudes are still locked up, but they were able to distance themselves and say, "Oh, man, this is not what we created. This is not what we wanted," right? The monster has gotten so big and out of control that, man, it's like there's no controlling it now, man. The only way of controlling it is by putting structure in it, right? But do you know how much bloodshed would for that to happen? For everybody to say, look, we're not, no more. The books are closed. No more. We're not accepting no more. If you don't have no more than 5 to 10 years, a minimum of 10 years, we're not accepting no more. You can be a hang around. You can be you know, whatever. But if you don't have 10 plus to do with us, then you're not going to be able to rock this, right? There has to be, and that's what's going to happen, man. It's going to be, it's sad to say that it's going to be like how the Crips do it, man. I'm going to use the Crips and the Bloods as an example, right? When they're from different Dallas or Houston and the different teams play, you will hear all the bitches and hoes, right? And that's what causes a lot of their conflicts, right? The sports, the football, the baseball. One group starts talking about, oh, your team sucks. The other one says, oh, your team ain't shit. And then from there, it starts bickering, and one thing leads to another, right? But in order for such a big thing to get back in line and control, man, things, it's going to have to go backwards in order for it to go forward. And that's the only way that it's going to ever become, you know. But like I said, there was never the intentions for that to become what it is. So now it's like you got two options. You either try to fix it or just keep on letting it get out of control, and just keep on letting it grow out of control to where stuff like this happens. All right. Characters like this come out and put blemishes on it. Why? Because it's so big that nobody's really giving it the the TLC that it needs, right? I see if it would just be structurized, man, it would be a completely totally different ball game, man. I think everybody I think everybody would be profiting from the top man to the little man, right? If it was structured properly. Because the numbers are there. Now they just got to do the logistics and the structure, and man, it'll be a fucking something to fucking a havoc to mess with, right? But the way it is right now and the way it's continuing to going, it's just like nobody's putting a stop to it, man. Nobody's putting the stop and correcting it. And all that's happening is a new generation, a new generation creating their own wave, creating a different wave, separating from what it used to be. And that's the same story of every organization, man. The old generation and the new generation bump heads, right? And that's why they have a lot of these fallouts with these organizations. It's mostly because of the old and the new guys, right? The new guys they welcome in, they're not listening to the old structure way. So that's why the conflict is, right? But there's bylaws and structure. That's why, hey, this is how we were doing it. But when there's no structure or bylaws, it just continues to keep growing and growing and growing, and nobody's really putting a stop and correcting it. Right. And there is a lot of people, man. Like I said, uh, the units are ran independently, right? For as far as Tango. Now, as far as family, I'm pretty sure they're whatever goes on one unit should be happening at another unit, right? That's the way it is. But as far as Tango, they don't do that, man. It's every unit's ran independently. But just imagine if all the units were all in cahoots with each other and really become a structured organization. I mean, because like myself, I don't have to worry about it no more. But like for all these other young guys going in there, man, like what are they going in there for? If that's the case, I would recommend for you to go in there and be a Solano. My best advice to anybody going to prison, man, regardless being black, white, Mexican, that if you can hold your own, be Solano. Be solo, man. If you can hold your own, be solo. I wouldn't recommend you to join anything, right? And that's just my opinion, being 40 something years old, right? But maybe when I was young, I thought differently, right? I still had that kind of a juvenile mentality of trying to be part of the pack, right? Be accepted, and that gang mentality type of shit, right? But as you get older, you're like, man, fuck, I think I could have just been better off on myself, right? I mean, I didn't. But you have to be able to handle yourself. Hey, don't get yourself in trouble. Be respectful. Be cordial. If somebody tests you, show them that you're not a bitch. You're not a punk, and you'll be all right, man. Because people, once people know that you're going to be more of a hassle than you're not just going to be an easy victim, they'll just leave you alone, man. Now if they feel like they can get over you, you're going to get pressed by everybody, man. That's my advice to anybody, man. Anybody going to Texas prison, if you can hold yourself, hold your own, be a Solano, man, a solo. Because it's not like nobody's going to force you to do anything that you don't want to do. Now, if they're forcing you, then you still have an option to stop it and tell them, hey, I don't do that, man, and put in your work. But that's the thing, man, that it's just going to continue to get bigger and bigger. Every day, somebody's getting sent off to prison. And every day, there's a new Tango Blast member, right? Every day, man. As long as they're chained, somebody's going to get recruited. That's all they hear from the county jail. But instead of creating something so big and out of control, I guess I don't know, man. I mean, I don't see the purpose of it being so big and not taking advantage of what the possibilities could be, man. That's like having the network of everywhere, man. That's like fuck. You know how prosperous everybody could be, man, if there was just be structure. And I'd probably be a lot more people, not a lot less people going to jail. Because honestly, everybody would be on the same page. Because that's all you have out here, man. Out here, you got everybody that's dongle, basically independent, doing their own thing out here, man. Right? Everybody's doing their own thing. Nobody has to report to nobody. Nobody has to say nobody, right? Hey. But if everybody was the collective as one, man, I see the possibilities. Shit, I think, man, it would be something unstoppable in reality, man. To me, it would be like all the Texas families working together in coexistence in Texas, which some do, but instead of seeing different states and different cities, see everybody as Texas. Texas is big, man. It just needs to be I don't know, man. It just there's no point of having such a giant machine and not putting it to use the proper way. It wouldn't be. It's like I don't. It would be something. I'll be back, y'all. Man, I'm gonna give me something to eat, man. Uh, talk about some other shit here in a little bit. I'll be back.